Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. So, it is time for another edition of The Dispatch. That's right, welcome aboard. It is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. This is live stream number 1122. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then I'll usually pontificate about a topic related to our hobby, which I shall be tonight, because we're going to discuss how you can stretch your tabletop gaming dollars, pounds, euros, etc., to see how we can get you the most bang for your buckage as far as board games and tabletop role-playing games. So we're going to tackle that after the news. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And for some strange reason, I have something in my eye. It's like, the hell is that? The hell is that? Get off me! Get off me! Anywho, since it's a live show, that means there is also live chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 10 minutes before you can take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you check both those boxes and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to reply. So, first out the gate tonight is our good friend of the show, the Madman. Gleeman RX is with us, as is Kathy Evans, Jose Fernandez, Keithulu, Tessie Trekkie, Mike, Beat Cafe, Grandpa John, Sean O'Donnell, Semper Buffo, Pete Strakolich, Chris Lundgren. I think I've said hello to everybody so far. And, of course, I will take a wild guess. The lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is lurking in the shadows. One of our chat moderators, yes, lurking in the shadows with the glittery banhammer, which I would think would be a giveaway. I think that would reflect whatever minimal light is in those shadows, I think would be kind of reflecting off of that. Anyway, Chris Leonard says, weird, they can see chat on screen, TV. Well, that's the way you've got it set up. So, like most people, if they're watching on their computers and things like that, they do see the chat go past. Some live streams, I don't know if they really do it so much anymore. They used to. They would actually have the chat as on screen, on this screen here. So it would kind of just zip on past. So I guess freed people up to watch, I don't know, full screen, something like that, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But the thing is, I mean, it locks it in place forever. So when people start getting wacky, oh, wow, there's a big old spider hanging off of the hand strap to the camera there. Yay big. We're not talking like Black Widow spider, but yeah, that's a pretty big sucker. Well, when we go to our brief intermission, I'll be removing that. I'm not going to kill it. I'm just going to, because it's hanging from a web. I'll just move it on off someplace else down here in the Duct Tape Studios. Anyway, welcome aboard, everybody. Let's talk about our sponsor. That's right, because the Dispatch is currently sponsored by Roll for Combat and their Year of Titans Kickstarter, which launched last week. 13 new playable species, new ancestries delivered every month in 2025. Unique species and subspecies you will not find anywhere else, which will contain extensively developed lore and fully developed cultural insights. You'll find ancestral feats, new backgrounds for the 5e version, and over 20 tokens depicting the species in a variety of character options. It's designed for both 5e D&D and Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which that Pathfinder 2nd Edition will have a free ancestry file as well. Plus, you'll have access to the development team. It's exactly what you need to effortlessly add fantastic new playable species into your epic fantasy campaign. There's a short Kickstarter video from Roll for Combat, so let's give it a peek.
Remember the last time you played a tabletop RPG and your friend cast a fireball spell, killing all the enemies and exploding your whole adventuring party? I know they say that living well is the best revenge. Well, how about you play as a living fireball spell and let revenge be the best revenge with Battlezoo Ancestry's Year of Titans. Once a month for the next year, you'll receive a unique playable species you won't find anywhere else for your D&D 5th Edition or Pathfinder 2e games. Now you can play as a living spell, a skillful cyclops, a wicked troll, or even a mighty kraken. And those are just the ones I can pronounce. An hair jar?
It's pronounced ein hairyar.
Say tires?
It's satyrs.
Okay, I think I got this one. Dual hand.
Doulahan. It's a headless horseman from Irish folklore, you gigantic tit.
Every month you'll receive a new PDF or Foundry VTT module, along with handmade battle maps, tokens for your virtual tabletop, both static and animated, and detailed in-world lore entries, allowing you to easily add these unique species to your next tabletop session. All this and more for less than a monthly Egg McMuffin. Delicious. Head on over to the link in the description to learn more, because if you sign up for the Kickstarter, you'll get a bonus species a year early. The Mighty Titan. That's 13 unique species throughout 2025 to amaze your friends and family. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to call my dungeon master and tell them that I'm going to be playing as Godzilla from now on. Godzilla.
The Year of Titans Kickstarter project is well past the 750% funding mark. You can reserve your copy for either Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder in either PDF or for the Foundry Virtual Tabletop for a $59.99 pledge. Or if you want to get the PDFs and the VTT elements together, you can do so for a pledge of $99. I keep saying $59.99. I think it's just $59. Anyway, this project does run through December 12th. Delivery will begin in January. I mean, it is the Year of Titans. In fact, we're going to see two species arrive on, I think it's like mid-January. I don't know. Maybe it might even be January 1st. I don't know. I don't know what Steven's got planned for that. So we shall find out. Toon Jarowich is joining us in chat. I believe this might be a first-time visit in chat for them. Welcome aboard. Tessie Trekkie says, come to Australia. Our spiders are bigger, snakes more aggressive, and gamers all smell more due to the heat and lack of water, meaning that they need to take sand showers. Well, actually, during that video, I went and moved the spider on off. It's just, I don't want it crawling across the camera lens. I mean, it's like all of a sudden people, you're like, what's that? Because you wouldn't be able to tell what it is. It would just be some thing, some like blur that you would see. It would be like, oh my gosh, is the blob emerging from the duct tape studios and swallowing up Jeff? Don't know. Don't know. I could just pour some pudding over the camera lens, right? Didn't they just take pudding and pour it over? I want to say it was just a photograph. They had photographs, and I think it's pudding that they pour over it in the original Blob, starring Steve McQueen. Yes, yes. So very nice. And I also have a copy of Year of Titans in hardcover. I know you're wondering, every time I show this, you think to yourself, wait a second, Jeff, that Kickstarter's all digital, yet you've got a hard copy of the book. And whenever I do show this, I always tell you the answer is the same thing. It's one word: magic. Let's jump on into the news, because landing in early 2025 is Black Powder and Brimstone from author Ben Tobit and Free League Publishing. I've got the lowdown. Explore a grimdark fantasy world of swashbuckling adventure and gothic folk horror. Hell on earth has come to Vaterland, and with it, religious zealotry, famine, pestilence, and horrors beyond reality. You play as a desperate rogue looking to make their way in this war-torn apocalypse through plunder, trade, bounty hunting, and battle. Although the rules may be light, the lore is not. The world of Black Powder and Brimstone is fully realized, and the book will be packed with lore and information about the setting and its people, as well as hundreds of atmospheric illustrations to get players and game masters into the world and tone of the setting. Pick from 5 main classes with a total of 15 subclasses and create a unique character in minutes to get straight into the action. Weird, characterful, and deadly weapons. I'm not used to hearing the term characterful weapons. Each with their own special and devastating rules to make each one unique. These include the dreaded black powder weapons, infernal devices that ignore all armor on a hit and can cause as much mayhem and destruction to the wielder as their target, as well as weapons that are forbidden and powerful magics that can warp reality as easily as an artist paints a canvas. But beware, magic is as dangerous as it is powerful. And if you use it in front of the wrong people, prepare to deal with the dreaded agents of the Inquisition. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. There are more than just dangerous men to be wary of in Vaterland. Demons, tides of rats, and the victims of the dreaded staggering pox stalk the land. I do not have a page count to this, but I do know the hardcover with PDF is going to carry an MSRP of $49.99. It is going to land in stores on March 18th, 2025. I know I didn't mention it in the sell sheet information, but this is built on top of Mirkborg. Yes, it is a Morkborg-fueled role-playing game. So yes, it is looks to be kind of a grim, darkish 15th century-ish sort of vibe to it. That'd be my guess, maybe 16th century. Looks pretty cool. And if it's a Morkborg powered role-playing game that's being released through Free League Publishing, that normally tells you it's going to be quality. Because for the most part, I know there's a lot of Morkborg content out there, and a lot of it is, let's be very honest, dog shit. But one of the marks that it's not going to be that is when it comes through Free League Publishing, such as Pirate Borg and Cyborg, which are excellent. Got to be honest, I say it all the time. Pirate Borg's my favorite of the Borg games that are out there. Although Cyborg's really nice too. Pretty cool cyberpunk. So this looks very interesting. And yes, Walona's Cave has joined us in chat, stealing my thunder because they are mentioning there's actually a quick start that's available right now. When I post the news piece, there will be actually a link to it. So that news piece will be up tomorrow morning, like all news pieces that I cover here on the show. So it is through Drive-Thru RPG. So you'll be able to get it there. Chris Lundgren says, this looks interesting. Pete Stracklich says, wow, now I'm definitely interested. I think it was the Mork Borg that got Pete Stracklich. Could be. Russell Higgins is with us in chat. Welcome aboard, Russell. Some talk about the DM Guild's Classic Guide to Greyhawk is out for, I guess it's 5.5. I know, we enjoy calling the new edition 5.5. We don't stoop to that 2024 nonsense. Oh, it's not a new edition. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And Darius Termin is also popping on in. Says it looks a little bit like the Hellboy artwork. It does have a little bit of a Mike Mignola look to it. There's another artist, another comic book artist that this sort of reminds me of that kind of falls into the Mignola kind of art style, but they don't draw with such heavy lines. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but her artwork is kind of similar. Actually, I think this is the author's artwork. Or no, maybe it's not. You know what? Now that I think about it, I think the artist who's worked on this is a comic book artist. So there you go. There you have it. There you have it. All right, moving right along. Fans of DC Comics, speaking of comics, will want to take a look at the DC Heroes role-playing game 40th anniversary Kickstarter. It is from Cryptozoic Entertainment. Here's the scoop. The legend returns. DC Heroes is an innovative and award-winning role-playing game that was first published in 1985. It allows you and your friends to take on the roles of iconic superheroes like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg, or create heroes of your own. The object of the game is to create brand new stories pitting these heroes against the Joker, Lex Luthor, Brainiac, Sinestro, and any of the other hundreds of villains who threaten the DC universe. Over 8 years of product releases, DC Heroes produced dozens of adventures and source books, many featuring contributions from some of DC's finest writers and artists of the 1980s. Jack Kirby, Alan Moore, Denny O'Neil, George Perez, John Byrne, and many others. Thousands of gamers and comics fans are still playing DC Heroes, even though it's been unavailable for decades. To celebrate DC Heroes' 40th anniversary, Cryptozoic is reprinting the line in definitive archival editions. Whether you've never experienced DCH before, or if you're a longtime fan looking to plug the holes in your collection, they've got you covered. Be parts of the legend. Now, this is over 200% funded, and while there are a variety of pledge levels that you can jump aboard with, and when I say a variety, I mean a shit ton of pledge levels. No joke. Because they've got a bunch of different bundles for all the various different supplements that were published. But you can jump aboard. You can grab either the first or second edition core box for a $60 pledge through December 18th. Expected delivery is going to be October of next year. I had some of the DC Heroes releases. I remember picking up, there was the Batman role-playing game, which they'd actually taken the DC Heroes role-playing game and just rolled it over into a Batman specific role-playing game, because the way DC Heroes was presented was it was the entire DC universe. And then they had supplements. So Superman had a supplement. Wonder Woman had, or the Amazons really, had a supplement. The Watchmen had a supplement. That's actually why I picked it up. I picked it up because I wanted the Watchmen supplement too. And yes, Keith Ulu points out this was from Mayfair Games back in the day. And Mayfair Games was our local game company because they were in a suburb of Chicago, right outside Chicago, Niles. In fact, there were times I would drive past the Mayfair Games headquarters. And they were actually located in Niles all the way up to the end. So that was kind of cool. And a lot of people may not realize this, but Mayfair Games started off and they were heavy into role-playing games. They weren't board games. They were role-playing games. And they did Dungeons and Dragons supplements. They did DC Heroes. They did quite a lot. And funny enough, there's tons of supplements out there that were created. Now, I find it kind of interesting that you're looking at Cryptozoic splitting this up where you can get either the first edition box set or the second edition box set, which are just the core box sets. They do not include the supplements that you're seeing. Those are additional bundles that you have to pick up. And I'm kind of surprised that they're not just going with the second edition. There weren't huge changes between the two. And yes, I understand some of the supplements are formatted for first edition. Some were formatted for second edition. I honestly think there were more for first edition. Kind of curious. I'm very interested in this. I'm also a bit concerned about this. And one of the reasons is Cryptozoic is kind of hit or miss in some respects, company-wise. I'm concerned that even though they're indicating that these will be archival editions, I'm curious if these are just going to be built off of scans. I don't know. I do not know. And if you take a look at the Kickstarter, it's relatively pricey. If you want to get everything that they're publishing, and it looks like they're just going to republish everything that came out for DC Heroes. If you want to get all the bundles plus the 2 core sets, if I remember correctly, I think it's $625 as far as the pledge. That's a good chunk of change to find out, oh, hey, man, some of this is just scanned. Would that be cool? Darius Termina asks, Constantine supplement? Yes. There was a Constantine supplement. Well, let's see. I'm trying to remember because I had some of this. And the reality is, it's a pretty good role-playing game. It's not crap. It's not like some licensed junk. It's a pretty solid role-playing game for 80s design. There was a Sandman supplement. That was another reason why I picked it up, because I was I never read, well, I take that back. I read a little bit of the regular DC Universe stuff. I like Batman. I'm a fan of Batman. Superman, All-Star Superman I thought was pretty good. But Superman, it just, people don't identify with him. That's why he's such a difficult character to bring to film successfully outside of, the first Superman and then the first rebooted Superman with Henry Cavill. But I read Swamp Thing. I read Watchmen. I read Sandman. Love Sandman. Oh my gosh. I hope those rumors about Neil Gaiman are not true, but I have a sneaking suspicion they'll turn out to, which sucks. But that was why I picked up the DC Heroes role-playing game, and those supplements were excellent. They even did a few volumes. I think they did 3 or 4 of Who's Who in the DC universe. Now, something you also want to keep in mind is all of this content will be relative to DC Comics in the mid 80s to mid 90s. So you want to keep that in mind. So Cthulhu says, if I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? All right. Kevin R. Smith, Agile Monk, and Off the Shelf board game reviews are joining us in chat. Welcome aboard. So you might be curious about checking this out. Give it a peek. Like I said, I'm curious about it. I'm excited on one hand, and then on the other hand, I'm concerned. So who knows? Available in print and PDF for the Exalted role-playing game from Onyx Path Publishing is Sidreal's charting fate's course. Here's what I know. The Sidreal Exalted are the elite agents of heaven, troubleshooting threats to destiny and creation and beyond. They are legendary martial artists whose secret techniques tap into the fundamental forces of existence. They are the starry-eyed oracles who steer the course of nations with a word in the right ear at the right time. And yet, more than anything else, they are forgotten. Under a veil of mystical anonymity, the Sidreals serve creation and heaven alike as heroes who smooth the tangled web of fate, battle the enemies of the world, and ensure that there will always be a tomorrow. This Exalted 3rd edition source book provides everything players and storytellers need to include the Sidreals in their stories. Inside, you'll find rules for creating your own Sidreal characters, including their strange, fate-bending charms, Sidreal martial arts, esoteric combat styles that manipulate reality itself, and setting information for Yushan, the city of the gods, its history, customs, inhabitants, and opportunities. The 432-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $59.99. You get that through Drive-Thru RPG, or just grab the PDF alone for $29.99. That is one hell of a sized supplement for Exalted. 432 pages. Gotta say, artwork looks pretty solid. I'm not overly familiar with Exalted. I mean, I know the premise of the 3rd edition of the game. I'm not familiar with how it's mechanically presented or anything like that. But I think it's relatively popular. We'll see. Pete Strakolich says, Simon Bisley's Lobo art rocks. Yeah, when I got back into comics, well, let's see. So I've gotten back into comics twice in my life. I don't foresee myself doing it a 3rd time. But I was in my mid-20s, and at that point in time, you had Lobo was huge. Everything was Wolverine and Lobo. And then, let's see, Sandman had been going for about a year, because I remember picking up back issues for that. Alan Moore was getting ready to wrap up his run on Swamp Thing, which actually revitalized all of the sort of like horror style of the DC universe. Like John Constantine, or Constantine is actually, if I remember correctly, I think that's the correct pronunciation. But yes, So that's when I got back into it. And then that was for about 3 years. I was collecting. And then good long time went by. Then when I was out in Arizona, I got back into picking up comics. And that was just before Marvel did Civil War. So I've always been a Marvel guy. But unlike my brother, I like some DC stuff too. My brother's all just Marvel. Unless he can pick up a collectible book cheap that's DC or some, like Image or something like that. It's all Marvel. So, anywho, Chris Lundgren says Superman rocks, Batman kicks rocks. Chris Lundgren says they love everything Superman. Buddy, the cockatiel, his wife, and Chris. Batman's okay. He's psycho. Well, depending on which presentation of Batman you want to go with. So there are some versions of Superman that makes him a megalomaniacal lunatic too. So moving right along, let's talk about saving some money because that is our topic tonight. We'll get to that topic in just a bit, but right now you can score huge savings on the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remaster Birthday Celebration by way of Paizo Inc. and Humble Bundle. I've got deets on the deal. Be the legendary hero of Galarian. Gather your friends for endless adventure with the Ultimate Pathfinder 2nd Edition bundle from Paizo Inc. Experience the best way to play Pathfinder with this amazing bundle, which includes rule books, new scenarios, a bestiary. Well, there's more than just one bestiary. Flip mats and campaign resources for Pathfinder GM Core, Pathfinder 2nd Edition Beginner's Box, Remastered Edition, and Pathfinder Player Core, and lots more. Tabletop role-playing games have never been this fun. Get everything you need to embark on an epic journey together while supporting comic books for kids with your purchase. Now, you can get started for as little as $5, or you can go all in and grab all the PDFs. I remember correctly, there are 72 or 73 PDFs total. No joke. You can get all of those for a minimum donation of $30 through December 5th. You heard me correctly, $30. And don't forget, your purchase will benefit comic books for kids. So we talk about saving money with these bundles all the time. And Humble Bundle always has the most absolute rocking role-playing game bundles out there. Bundle of Holding never comes close. Just with the sheer amount of content you can get for pennies. Pennies on your gaming hour, I guess I would say. And this is mighty, mighty impressive. Everything you need to jump on board Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered. Because you get the player core, you also get the GM core. So you get both of those remastered editions as part of this. Plus you get the remastered beginner box too. So Kevin R. Smith points out it's 72. Yeah, I was trying to remember if it was 72 or 73. And it is quite the bargain. Keith Ulu says they got that bundle. Sean O'Donnell says, yay, more Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And this does have a good amount of content that is relatively new. So this isn't just the same old rehashed, oh, look, it's the first two adventure paths for the 2nd edition of Pathfinder. No. Now, these are relatively recent. They're a couple of years old, if I remember correctly. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. Check it out. All right. Last news story, there is an interesting looking role-playing game that is available by way of Exalted Funeral. And here is the skinny on Eco Mofos. Around 200 years ago, everything went to crud. Oh my gosh, the language. The wealthy who created this mess fracked off to Mars while the lucky ones hid in vast underground bunkers. We were left to fend for ourselves on the surface, eking out an existence in the broken world they left behind, searching for remnants of a past world to help us survive, searching for a place to call home. Play a group of misfits who have found each other in the wastes and ruins of the fallen world. The past is just a hazy legend, the story scattered over thousands of USB sticks and servers. But the future is there to be written. Eco Mofos includes rules-like gameplay based on Into the Odd and Cairn, a tried and tested system perfect for rulings-driven OSR, new SR, FKR, I'm not sure what the hell that is, gameplay. And the text is entirely Creative Commons, so you can remix and hack to make your own game. You've got life paths. Will your punk die during creation? Ooh, a la Traveler. Or will they raggle some handy skills? Don't push your luck. A fun mini game and a great start to an adventure. Speaking of adventures, there's no prep, so you can concentrate on following the story at the table, discovering the world together. Uses randomized maps and tables to create dynamic scenarios as you play. Burdens. Rather than gaining fatigue, punks gain burdens, filling their inventory with emotional baggage that has specific requirements to be removed, leading to all sorts of new scenarios and hijinks. There are no levels, just adaptations, body-altering substances and devices that trigger new potentials. Search for key items like orbs and implants, and revel in the visions brought forth as they meld with your character's self. There's loot. There's so much of it. A massive D666 table of it for random bits and bobs, with more tables branching off that. Sorted into sections so certain areas can have certain kinds of stuff. Who knows what they'll find? Now, this is not grimdark, but weird hope, channeling weird and alternative sci-fi like 1980s, 2000 AD. Rogue Trooper, ABC Warriors, The Waste Outside the Megacities, Star Wars New Hope, Dahlgren, Stalker, Rogue Trader, Parable of the Sower, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Door to Ocean, The Nightland, and The Dispossessed. There's even a solo mode. Extra rules to help you play Eco Mofos as a solo mofo. This 176-page A5 hardcover with PDF is available now. You can pick it up for an MSRP of $49. And grab just the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $14.99. Gotta say, the artwork's got a little bit of a Mobius vibe to it. Just a hint. Just a hint. Testy Trekkie says they literally got this yesterday and are reading through this as they listen to the show. The artwork is fantastic. The rules based, once again, on Into the Odd. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's caught my eye. So this is something that's new in print. PDF's been out for a little bit, and you even have options on which cover you can get. I think there's two. I know there's two. I don't think there's more than that. Although, strangely enough, I thought the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG looked like it had a different cover. Don't know. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Dispatch, of course, as well as the gaming gang itself, is associated with the One Bookshelf site. So if you are going to visit Drive Through RPG, Storytellers Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. The newly redesigned thegaminggang.com. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Wunderbar. And there are some of you out there who actually pop on by and make not small donations, such as our good friend of the show, the Madman, my friend from high school, Scott Weigel, John Webster, and Craig Watkins, just to name a few. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Anybody out there using those banner ads and or swinging on by paypal.me, the Gaming Gang. Nice. So we are going to start talking about ways to get the most bang for your buck, or pound or euro or whatever form of payment you use for your tabletop gaming. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Before we do, I did want to mention, I'd been talking about we were going to be covering GaryCon coming up next March. That looks like that's not going to happen. So I had been going back and forth with somebody who had, I don't know if they're in charge of GaryCon or what, but they are affiliated with GaryCon. And I had talked with them at Gamehole Con. I don't know why I zoomed on that. I almost said Gen Con. I'm like, no, that wasn't. And they were like, oh, yeah, we're really doing press passes this year and things like that. Because I had said, hey, it's over $100 for a pass. And as the press who's promoting conventions and exhibitors and things like that, they're the only convention that I was aware of that was charging the press to attend if they wanted to play any sort of games. So he's like, oh, well, that's going to be different. So anyway, I said, oh, great. I said, we'll go. So I had booked a room, and then I hadn't heard anything for a while. So I thought, okay, it's been about a month. I'm going to reach out. Tessie Trekkie says there are 3 covers to Eco Mofos. So I reached out and I got an email back saying, oh, yeah, we want to give you and Elliot press passes, but there's no gaming as part of that. But we'll arrange for a discounted badge to game. And I'm thinking, I don't know, because I hadn't heard anything back, because I wrote back, and because I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be discounted. So it's going to be, instead of what, I think it's 120 or something, might be more than that. It's going to be like 100, which, got to be honest, nope, ain't happening. Sorry. It's just not. I mean, we had a good time going up to GaryCon. We had a good time going up to Founders and Legends. But mainly it's because it's Elliot and I hanging out for, a few days, doing whatever the hell we want and, laughing our asses off the vast majority of the time. It's not necessarily the conventions themselves, which provided all the entertainment. So anyway, so I wrote back to say, hey, you know what? I appreciate the offer, but the reality is, being the press, and we're going there, we're providing promotion for the convention. we have to pay travel expenses. We have to pay for a hotel. We have to pay for food and everything, just like a convention attendee. But to be like, well, yeah, but you can't play anything unless you buy a regular badge, then what would be the point of giving us a press pass? Because for one, GaryCon takes place at a resort, which is open to the public. So it's not as if you have to have a pass to be walking around the place. It is publicly accessible. So why would you wouldn't need a pass unless you're going in, because they have the various different ballrooms and meeting rooms and things like that set aside for gaming and stuff. So yeah, of course, that you would obviously people would need to have a pass. But I thought it was kind of odd because it's like, well, so if we get a press pass, we can't go into the areas where there's gaming. So why give us a pass in the first place? The rest of the public can walk through this resort all they want. So I said, hey, you know what? I appreciate the offer, but no thanks. So sorry to say, it does not look like we will be covering GaryCon. I have not told Elliot yet because this was just yesterday. I haven't had an opportunity to. So Elliot tends to watch episodes, day or two later. So hoping he doesn't find out through this video that we're not going up to Lake Geneva in March. Hell, we could always, funny thing is, when we go up to Lake Geneva, we spend about half the time hanging out in the hotel playing games. Not even going to the convention, or we're at the resort there, but we're at like an open game table playing games that we've brought. So, don't know. So kind of a bummer. I mean, I get it. They want to make money. They want to stick around. Completely understand. But I mean, it's the only convention I know of that is going to charge you as a press member to play. Now, granted, of course, if we went and wanted to play stuff at Gen Con, yeah, we'd have to buy a ticket. We'd have to buy a $2 ticket or whatever the price is, because there are some pricier events. And that was something that this person had brought up to me when we were talking at Gamehole Con. And I said, yeah, I get that, but it's not $120 worth of tickets to play games each. It's like, oh, all our gaming is included. And I was like, yeah, so was all the gaming at Gamehole Con. I don't know. So anyway, it's too bad. It's too bad because I was looking forward to, the March getaway like we've done the past couple of years, but just not going to happen. Not going to happen. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about different ways for you to get the most bang for your buck as far as tabletop gaming. We're going to talk board games and role-playing games. We're going to talk both. And we're going to do that in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
No Bronco Buster anywhere can ride a horse like Bosco Bear. Bosco drinks his Bosco. Bosco drinks his Bosco. Bosco loves his Bosco.
You love Bosco too? It's real chocolatey.
That's Bosco Milk Amplifier, made by an exclusive process that gives you all these extras. Bosco and milk gives you extra energy, more and faster energy. It's so easy to mix. And Bosco is double chocolatey, makes the smoothest chocolate drink of all. It's rich in vitamin D and muscle-building iron. And Bosco can be served so many different, wonderful ways.
Bosco makes a soda. Bosco makes a sundae. Every day's a fun day with B-O-S-C-O.
Everybody loves Bosco.
Want a cup of Wilkins coffee?
What'll Mr. Wilkins do if I don't?
Oh, he'll probably put his foot down.
They were an average alien family living on their own planet. And we were an average family living on ours.
He took my Coke, Mom. Come on, you guys.
I don't have it. I didn't take it.
I knew it.
Accidents happen, and like us, they found themselves in a strange new neighborhood.
I like it.
Me too.
Shh. Communing with the earth spirits.
Welcome to California, bud.
Alert, alert. We have a malfunction. We have a malfunction.
Their lives were in danger.
Back off, Larry. Get away from it. Down here. We've got a problem here.
They had to escape. When the smoke cleared, their family was separated. Somehow, one of the aliens was hiding in our house. The government wanted to capture him.
It's here.
Everyone was after him. And my brother, Eric, wants to make friends.
We got him!
Turn it off!
You sucked this living thing into a vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, and then we blew him out again.
Now Eric is risking not only his life, but my life.
Give me the gun. Step back!
To save them.
This is the police.
There he is!
I told you they don't understand.
It's about more than friendship. It's about adventure. Mac and me.
I have to say, there's only one time in my entire life that I was embarrassed to be a Chicago Cubs fan. And it was after watching Mac and Me. I was like, I don't want the affiliation, that stink. The stink of that film on me. Tessie Trekkie says they've never seen Mac and Me. I mean, it's bad. I don't know if it's as bad as people sometimes make it out to be, but it is pretty damn awful. I don't think we're talking like Plan 9 from Outer Space levels of awfulness. I do have to say that I do get a kick out of the running gag that Paul Rudd has, where he's supposed to be showing a clip from a movie that he's in, and it's the scene from Mac and Me with the kid flying off the cliff. And it's not really a cliff. It's like over a river. It's like a riverbank or something like that. Jose Fernandez says, what a weird day. This is the second time Mac and Me has been mentioned. Agile Bunk says that was a B movie for sure. So Sean O'Donnell says, I know what you mean, Jeff. Happily, they were only 3 when that movie came out. I did not see that movie when it came out. I saw that movie on cable. Probably 10 years after it came out. It was one of those nights where it's like flipping channels is like, what is this? Just starting off, and I thought, oh, this is like an 80s movie. Let's see what this is. I was like, oh my God. Got to the point I was just like, I just got to see how awful this becomes. Didn't they do a recent Mystery Science Theater 3000 of it, the Netflix edition? Pretty sure, I think they did, if I remember correctly. I know for some people that was the first time they ever saw that. Also, Agile Monk said it's too bad that Gary Kahn has gotten that petty. I don't consider it to be petty. It's short-sighted because I have encountered conventions in the past that, oh, no, we don't do press passes. You know, you have to buy a pass. I mean, but they were small. I mean, they were small conventions, as is Gary Con, really. So I think their cutoff is 1,600, 1,800, something like that. So it's, I don't look at it that way. I just think it's kind of short-sighted. And the funny thing is, Elliot and I went to the Founders and Legends last year. My pals over at Trollord Games arranged for Luke Gygax to get us a couple of passes. And it was sort of like nobody wanted to get on camera. So I was kind of like, wow, this is like, we're not really giving you any bang for the buck. So I wasn't about to ask the gang over at Trollord Games to see if, hey, you know, can you help Elliot and I go to, you know, Gary Con for free? Especially after I just talked to this person who's affiliated with Gary Con. I'm not mad. I mean, I hope I didn't come across that way. I just think it's, you know, it's too bad that they are short-sighted as far as the promotion that they receive from the Gaming Gang. Plus, you know, you figure I wear the Gary Con hat all the time. So Chris Lemner says, what a great idea. The Mac and Me role-playing game. Make huge money. Yes. Yes. Agile Monk says, okay, we can go with short-sighted, but it's a mistake. I always do great coverage, and Luke needs the positive press. I don't know. Is Luke getting negative press? I wasn't aware. You know, I try not to get too involved in, you know, some like interiors going on in the hobby. So as long as it's not somebody I'm sharing news about, and suddenly it's like, oh, Jeff, didn't you realize you just did a news piece for this independent role-playing game and the designer murdered his family? It'd be like, what? Relighter Gamer is with us. I believe this is the first time visit in chat. Welcome aboard. So they've been catching up on videos the last few days. Wanted to thank you for sharing your feelings about the political choice our neighbors made and not keeping silent like most do. I don't want to make it a thing as far as that goes. And it is, real quick, yes, the results of the election I find very disappointing, a little head scratching in certain ways. But I also understand that there were people out there who were voting against things that, you know, I'm a liberal, right? I'm born and raised. I'm a lifelong liberal. I'm not always in tune with the Democratic Party, though. There are some causes that they take on that I think is like, don't we have bigger problems to deal with than that? It's like, I mean, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. But we've got this here to deal with. Why are you investing energy into that? One of those things where it's kind of like to the most good for the most people sort of thing, which sadly Democrats sometimes get on their high horse about. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, got to be honest, right? Got to be honest. And I know people are out there going, "Oh, Jeff, you did what's going on with when I said you know, is the tabletop gaming industry doomed?" It's like, well, of course it's not doomed, but it is facing a downturn. It's already in a downturn. And if people find themselves with less bumming around money in their pockets, it's going to take an even bigger downturn. There's no getting around that, you know? But I know somebody had commented that they're like, oh, well, you know, things are going to be way better and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't see it. If it is, wonderful. I'll be the first one saying, thank you, President Trump. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bobby Kennedy Jr. Thank you, Elon Musk. Thank you, Matt Gates. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Kevin King says, pretty sure being in tune with the Trump AOC voter will cost sanity points. Yeah. Redletter says they dislike both, but they don't like crazy. Neither do I. I don't like crazy. I don't like chaos. Not in government. Last thing I'm going to say, and you can debate me all you want. I will die on this hill. Many more Americans died from COVID than should have because of the administration that was in power at the time and the just ass hattery that went on behind the scenes. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Agile Monk says they think they'll be thankful for Bobby Kennedy Jr. I mean, I don't know. See, that's the thing. I at least will admit I do not know. I have impressions. Big thank you to Agile Monk for a super chat. Donation to the Delicious Soda Fund. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. Once again, as I've said before, I try to be an ambassador to the hobby. It's really what I look to do. Redlighter points out that their aunt passed away from COVID. Very sorry to hear that. Sadly enough, like I said, far, far too many Americans passed from that. There was more that we could do. So anyway, but this is not the topic tonight. Our topic tonight is how to stretch your tabletop gaming dollar, pound, euro, whatever currency is used in your neck of the woods as far as buying games. And this kind of goes, I don't know, I guess we're segueing from last week where we were talking about how the tabletop gaming industry is in the middle of a downturn. People are spending less money on games. I mean, that is a fact. And I don't think enough companies out there really took into account the impact that COVID had on the industry, because it was very good for the tabletop gaming industry, even with all these the supply chain issues and cost increases. It was still very, very good for the tabletop gaming industry. We're not in a pandemic anymore. People aren't on lockdown, stuck inside their houses. So we are seeing people shifting their entertainment in other directions, and it's completely understandable. So we were discussing tariffs and things like that last week. So it is my impression that most Americans will find in the not too distant future, within the next couple of years, that they will have a little bit less bumming around money. Bam, as I talked about last week. So knowing that, and knowing you are a gamer, and that we all love new games, or at least games which are new to us, which is going to be important in this discussion. How can you stretch your budget? How can you get the most gaming out of your budget? So let's talk about a few things. So there are the obvious, like eBay. eBay these days, I try to stay away from eBay. I've told the story about the comic I sold from a convention where I got scammed by a buyer. So one thing that I'm not a big fan of as far as eBay is that there are really minimal protections for a seller on eBay. You're essentially screwed. And there are people out there who just scam left and right. I mean, we're in the age of scam. Remember, who was it? It was like in the 1860s. They were talking about the age of shoddy. I remember this from the Ken Burns Civil War documentary, which I absolutely love, and I watch at least once every year. But there was someone famous who was talking about, the age of shoddy. We are now in the age of scam, where it seems like everyone is looking to fuck everybody else over. And I know it's not the case. Not everyone is looking to, but there's just everywhere you turn, it's like you got to be on your toes, because it's either, oh, you get an email saying, oh, your email box is full. You need to click on this to enter your email address and your password so you can unlock, all this nonsense. Oh, your account may have been breached. You need to sign in, and then it's phishing junk. But Agile Monk says discretionary income has suffered quite a bit. I think it's going to suffer more. And I'm not the one who said this. Elon Musk has said it. We talked about this last week. Elon Musk said things are going to get tighter for the American people. So if the person who's being put in charge of government spending or whatever is telling us that, I guess we should probably listen. Some conversation going on. Oh, Agile Monk says eBay is no longer a trustworthy platform. I agree. I completely agree. Chris Lundgren's talking about some things we're going to be talking about as we continue here. Agile Monk says people scam big time. They were scammed a few times. As a veteran, they were selling off board games to help with medical bills. These jerks would say that the whole game wasn't there. Yep. When Agile Monk was selling mint games. Of course. Right. So, yeah, and eBay fully knows what's going on. And then Agile Monk got back different games and what they were sent, or forced to let them keep the game. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. So you've got eBay, Craigslist. People used to go on Craigslist and that. I don't know. All depends on where you're at. Craigslist can be all right, but it can also be a shit show there too. Issue I've had with Craigslist over the years is making arrangements where, for one, it's like I'm not having somebody come to my house or come to my apartment or whatever, set up a place to meet, then they never show. They never show up. Or they show up and you're asking like $100 and they're like, will you take 10? And it's like, are you kidding me? You couldn't have asked me that online where I would have laughed in your face. Now I have to personally laugh in your face? No. So that doesn't work too well. I will tell you what I have had a good amount of success with, and I see board games and role-playing games on all the time, and that's Facebook Marketplace. I don't know about your experiences, if you've checked it out, if you kind of sat there and thought, it's like all these other things. It's a waste of my time. I think it's a bit more legit than, say, Craigslist, because the person is tied into that Facebook Marketplace account. And of course, if you are looking to purchase something from Facebook Marketplace, you go and take a peek at that profile to make sure that, oh, okay, so it's at least a legitimate human being. I have purchased both my cameras that I use, both my overhead Panasonic GS85 and my Panasonic, I'm trying to remember. No, that's the 85. And then this is the GH5. That's the overhead camera. I bought both of those from sellers on Facebook Marketplace and got really good deals, and actually ended up getting more bang for my buck, because they included some stuff that they had purchased for the camera that they were like, well, I don't have any need for it now. And like with photography equipment and stuff, it's always because somebody decided, oh, I'm going to get something like better. So, but Facebook Marketplace, I see a lot of people with game collections that they're looking to sell, and they're selling individual games from it. And you'll find that, you can search within a certain radius. So if you want to look within like 15 miles, something like that, you certainly can. So I've had success with that. Something else you want to keep in mind, this is the perfect time of year to keep your eyes peeled for this, and that is the Black Friday sales. So this goes for tabletop role-playing games as well as board games. I am going to reach out probably tomorrow on social media if publishers are running Black Friday sales that they want me to include in a post. Let me know. Give me a link. I'll put it in there, because every year I tend to share a Black Friday sale post that, as I run across various different Black Friday sales that pique my interest, I share it with folks out there, visitors and that. Amazon will always have some halfway decent deals on board games. That is actually how I got my copy of Gloomhaven. And if I remember correctly, it was $79.99 on Black Friday. So there is that. Keep your eyes peeled for liquidation sales. So as Chris Lundgren just mentioned, miniature market, whatever, various different retailers, online retailers that are out there, take a peek, because they will normally have sales where it's sometimes 80% off or more. And I'll be the first to point out that, okay, it's not going to be the newest, hottest games, but I have picked up some pretty good stuff. I picked up Miniature Market had Warhammer 40K Heroes of Black Reach, which I had heard good things about. And I picked it up. I got it for $20. I want to say, I think it's a $50 game. Maybe even more than that, maybe $75. And I picked that up, and it was just on a liquidation sale. So I don't know what's going on with Fun Again Games. I don't, they're 1 minute they're selling online. Next minute they don't sell online anymore. Then they're back online again. It's like, so the madman's talking about a third-party seller on Amazon who had illegally copied TV shows out of DVDs and sold them as originals. My brother Greg and I are friends with this guy, Jamie Graham, who owns Graham Crackers Comics, the chain here in Illinois. My brother is really good friends with him. I consider him a friend. And he's told us the story about this guy who used to go to all the conventions, and he would be selling all these bootleg DVDs. And the feds got him, and the feds told him, this is it. This is your last chance. If we catch you doing this again, you are going to go to prison. Sure as shit. Guy goes up to Detroit, to Detroit's comic show, and he's selling his bootleg stuff. And the feds got him. And he went to prison for like 10 years. It was like, whoa. Whoa. So talk about liquidation. Who was it just mentioned? Ollie's. I just saw somebody mention Glue and RX. Ollie's is a liquidator. They are a store. And they will tend to have stuff from Wizards of the Coast. They don't have it too often, every once in a while. So as an example, they had the Dragonlance box set that had the shitty board game, the pretty lackluster adventure book together. And it was actually a different cover on the book, and it retailed for $100. If I remember correctly, I think it was $99.99, which was sort of like, what? And then you might remember I shared reviews of the terrain cases. One was a monster case, one was a terrain case, and they were discs, which, if I remember correctly, were $40 MSRP. Ollie's bought out whatever distributor had it, and they had the Dragonlance box for $10, and they also had the terrain case and the monster case for $3.99. That's called liquidation. So, but the thing is, liquidation from like a retail location, a physical place, you're going to be really hard pressed to find gaming stuff, tabletop gaming stuff. Maybe you could encounter like a Dungeons and Dragons book. Maybe. Like I said, the D&D Dragonlance thing, it's not something that happens a lot. It's not something that I would expect to see repeated constantly. But you keep your eyes peeled. So, but as far as liquidation sales go, that is more something that you want to keep an eye on from online retailers. I'll tell you what, also, if you are a miniatures gamer, I know for a fact, Miniature Market, when they do these sales, you can get some pretty rockin' minis on the cheap. Now, there are some things that you'll see in these sales that are like, okay, big deal. So that's like 40% off. You guys normally take 25% off MSRP. That's not really a great deal. But most of the time. So I've actually seen miniatures that are like $12, $13, $1.99. In fact, I've on occasion picked up one or two just because I was like, hey, that's a pretty cool looking miniature. I don't play the game, don't know anything about the game. But yeah, why not? Why not? So keep those in mind. Also, this is something else with online retailers. This is both for tabletop role-playing games and board games. Keep your eyes peeled for when they do dent and ding sales. You'll see dent and ding sales all the time. Exalted Funeral does this. You'll see Exalted Funeral's got like I forget what they call that, their section. But there is a little section. I've actually picked up a few things from them. I picked up my Old School Essentials reference book, which I think is $10. It's got like all the tables for OSC. in the booklet, and it just had a little foxing on the back of the back cover, and it was like $3. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Take a peek. You'll see these ding and dent sales. Some retailers will have that all the time. Chris Lundgren says, Brookhurst Hobbies in California has a big Black Friday sale each year and on their website, especially board games and miniatures. Something else I should also point out, let's go back to Facebook for a minute. We're not talking about Facebook Marketplace, but if you are on Facebook, and I'm going to take a guess that you'll see this on other social media sites, maybe social media sites that share ads with you. I'll give you a great example. So it's obvious I'm a gamer from my Facebook profile. So I will get stuff targeted towards me as a gamer. Watch out. Once again, we are in the age of scam. Watch out for when you get these ads that pop up talking about companies going out of business or game stores going out of business and liquidating their stock, because they are bullshit. And I've reached out to Facebook multiple times to tell them that it's a these are scams, and Facebook knows they're scams, but these people are paying to get their ads out there. So what they'll normally do is they'll just actually just take like an online game store, but not like a huge one. It's not going to be like a miniatures market or Fun Again or what's the place down in Florida? I think they're still around. Troll and Toad. Isn't that the name of them? I don't really hear much about them anymore, but I think they're still around. Maybe I don't hear that much about them anymore because I don't focus too much on board games anymore. Although I did just share a board game review yesterday. But keep your eyes peeled on that, because you'll click on the link. It'll take you to a bogus website where you'll see it's just basically a copy of the original website, and they've changed the prices. So there'll be like a slash through, and it'll be like, oh, this is a $40 game and it's $2.99, some horse shit like that, right? And I will tell you right now, you make any sort of purchase through that, you are just waving goodbye to your money. So be very leery of that. Be very careful. Something else we can talk about as far as board games and role-playing games, auctions, like convention auctions. So if you go to a convention like Gen Con, Gen Con's got an auction that runs multiple days, and they'll actually have specific genres and have time slots. So if you are looking for early Dungeons and Dragons stuff, they got a time slot. If you're going there for war games, they'll have a few time slots. If you're looking for modern role-playing games, like if you're looking to fill like 5e holes, books that you don't have, as long as it's not, what is it, Mordenkainen's Monsters, whatever, the one that they no longer print, they replaced it. I think it was the Monster Menagerie or something like that. That you're going to end up paying top dollar for. But if you were looking for, you want a set of the 3 core books, you are going to get them for a steal, because they are going to have multiple copies of that. So if you do go to conventions, the convention that you're attending does have any sort of like an auction, take time out and check it out. Sometimes I just hang out in the auction, like when they're doing war games, I'll kick back just to see stuff. It's like, oh, we had that. Oh, we had that. It's usually Elliot and I taking a break from running around. Every once in a while, we might go in and sit down for a while with like the older role-playing games. And it's like, oh my gosh. And Elliot's even like, oh, I remember that, which is saying something because, you know, Elliot's memory is not that great. Sir XRAN1 is with us. All these videos, always so good and dignity. And never, I'm going to sell you this game. Keep it up. Now, because I'm not a retailer. Only thing I make anything off of is when you like go to Drive-Thru RPG. And I tell you right up front, I get 5%. If you make a purchase, I get 5%. I tell you, you know. We are sponsored right now by Roll for Combat. You know it. I've told you. And then when I do reviews, I tell you, hey, all I got was this review copy, nothing else. And I delete comments from people like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sure you got paid. No, I didn't, because that's not how I do things. So, yes, thank you. Relighter's Gamer says, exactly, Jeff's a reviewer. I no doubt I can trust. Well, if you have similar taste, yeah, you should be in pretty good hands. If we don't, then yeah, you might be disappointed. Warren Rollins is with us too in chat. So auctions. Also, if you happen to have a game store in your area, I know the Wandering Dragon does this. They are in Plainfield, which is near Sarah D. If Sarah D is watching, she probably knows of it. Even though she's not a gamer, she hangs out watching this. Off the Shelf Board Game Reviews asks if I've talked about PDFs and STLs. Not yet. We're going to talk about that when we focus more on tabletop role-playing games. Because we're kind of talking board games and role-playing games. If you want physical copies. Relighter says, you mean good taste, Jeff. There's some oddball stuff that I like that other people are like, what? Shadow Doll says they've been to the Dragon many a time. So what they'll do is they will actually have, I think they do it once a year. They do an auction where people have brought in their games that they want to sell, and the Wandering Dragon, as far as I understand, takes a percentage of what the sale is, and then the seller gets store credit. But like I said, I think this is only once a year that they do it. But if you have a local or hopefully friendly local game store that you go to, ask them, do they ever do game auctions? And if they haven't, you should mention it to them, where it's like, hey, you know, it's a good way to bring in business, because people come in and, you know, they're in the mood to buy because they're there for an auction. And if they don't happen to get something, well, they're in the mood to buy, right? That's why they're there. Last thing I will mention, this can be, these are relatively hit or miss. Flea markets. Flea markets, you can, if you even know what a flea market is. All depends. I'm sure it's called different things in different places around the world. Why it's called a flea market, I cannot tell you. I do not know. White elephant sale, I think, is another kind of term for it. But you can find, usually you'll maybe stumble across some role-playing game books, usually not board games, but flea markets and also estate sales. And the thing is, keep in mind, estate sales are not necessarily an auction, right? I think there's a misconception from some people that an estate sale is an auctioneer comes out and they just have an auction and they're auctioning off everything in the house. Everything's got to go, which most of the time that is true. But the reality is it's normally you just go into the house. You go into the home and they've got everything just out. So you're like, oh, okay. That's how an estate sale works. And the reason why it's called an estate sale is garage sale, kind of the same thing. So if you go to a garage sale, it's not usually somebody's passed away, but they're usually just kind of getting rid of stuff. That's also a good way to find both board games and tabletop role-playing games. Garage sales are a pretty good source for that. If you find a place that's, they were gamers or they are gamers, you'd be kind of surprised. Sometimes you'll pull up, just like going to a resale shop. A lot of people think, oh, resale shops, those, like Goodwill. Oh, that should be just a fantastic place. No, it's not. Because, the games are all like kiddie games or trivia games or party games that you're like, no. So you got that. But yes, estate sales. The reason why they call it an estate sale is everything there is for sale. And they've normally brought in an outside company to handle all of it. So keep that in mind. All right. So plenty of ways for you to save big on board games and tabletop role-playing games. Sometimes it's very hit or miss. So I'm not saying that, hey, you want to pick up XYZ game that just came out a month ago. Sorry, these aren't ways you're going to get it. But if you are open to new experiences and you're always like, hey, you know what? I'd like to check that game out. Oh, Jeff talked about this game about 3 months ago. I'd like to check that out. Then it's perfect. So let's talk specifically about tabletop role-playing games. One of the first things I have to say, and I know there are people out there who love physical books. I love physical books too. You think this is all that I've got? Come on. We could go wide angle here. There are more bookshelves. They're just not as nice as these. And there are boxes. So yes, I love me physical books. But if you are looking to save money, you got to get used to PDFs. You have got to get used to PDFs. Because, as we've already talked about in one of the news pieces, it is an absolute fantastic way to save huge, huge money. Asian DeBall says they love estate sales. They bought lots of second edition AD&D stuff for cheap. RX says, yeah, pan that camera. I'm not panning that camera. That camera is locked in here. Jeez. What do you think? I got a cameraman standing back there? They'd be in the way of the teleprompter, by the way, which the camera already is. So I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, I don't like PDFs. Oh, my eyes get tired. There are adjustments you can make to whatever reading program you use for PDFs to cut down on glare and stuff like that. But we talked about the Humble Bundle going on for Pathfinder right now. $30 gets you 72 PDFs. And it's not garbage. It's not trash. It's the core books. It's adventure paths. It's flip mats. It's tons and tons of stuff. Zorex Rand once says PDF for me is the death of the soul. I get it. I understand that. I like books too. But the thing is, you can't complain about pricing. And then on the other hand, sit there and be like, well, I do have a far less expensive option available to me. You can't have it both ways. It's got to be one or the other. If you're looking to have as much gaming content as you could possibly get your hands on, which is a lot of people, and not have to spend an arm and a leg, well, then you're looking at PDFs, right? But like I said, I like physical books. I like hard copies. But looking at the pricing right now, and I'm not saying, oh, well, just go to Drive Through RPG and the PDF is $39.99. Just pick that up because the book is $80. Not necessarily. I'm not trying to tell you that. Because to me, $40 for a digital file that is not a video game, that's a little pricey there. And, when I review stuff like that, I do mention that. But keep your eyes peeled. Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle offers the best PDF, obviously bundles, but they offer the most phenomenal deals where you'll get stuff for pennies on the dollar. Bundle of Holding, they will have more obscure stuff than Humble Bundle. So Humble Bundle will normally have Pathfinder, Starfinder, Chaosium. We'll see some Chaosium. Call of Cthulhu comes up in bundles a good amount. Cubicle 7 Entertainment for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. In fact, I think they've got a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay that was ending today. They'll do some of the Warhammer 40K stuff. I even think Free League Publishing did one not too long ago. But you aren't going to find like the smaller indies over at Humble Bundle unless it's a bundle that has a bunch of indies as part of it, which I got to be honest, I can't say that I've never seen that, but I don't remember seeing that. Now, Bundle of Holding, you will see more bundles on a monthly basis, a lot more obscure stuff, a lot smaller publishers. But the thing is, the savings aren't as big. So sometimes, and I mean, there's sometimes that I'll see something where it's like, oh, you get on board for $14.95 and then you get all 8 PDFs if you go all in for the current threshold price of $35.17. And I'll think to myself, well, that's not really that great a deal. Sometimes it looks to me like companies go to like Bundle of Holding when they're low on funds or their game just isn't selling. And Humble Bundle, I will see, is more of an outlet when a company wants to do something that's going to benefit a charity. Because there's no way they're really making much on the Humble Bundles, whereas on the Bundles of Holding, yes. So there's that. If you are a miniature gamer, if you have your own 3D printer that's pretty decent, of course, you can get digital files to print off as many minis as you want. There are free floating around that you can find from time to time. So keep that in mind. I do not have a 3D printer. I've kicked around getting one, and then I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I do that, and all of a sudden I'll be like, now I'm sitting there printing up miniatures. And I don't know. I don't know. Sean O'Donnell says Noble Knight saves them tons. They are in Wisconsin. Yes, I almost went to Noble Knight when I went to Gamehole Con because it wasn't that far away, and I was like, nah. Oh, something else that you want to keep in mind too. If you happen to have a game company like that around, like a Noble Knight, a retailer like that, or like Miniature Market, keep your eyes peeled because sometimes they will actually have in-store events for liquidation and ding and dent sales. So you've got that. So as far as the tabletop role-playing games, PDF's the biggest deal. The biggest deal that's going to save you the most money is PDFs. And once again, I don't want to harp on it, but Humble Bundle offers these deals that will give you literally, and I know how to use that word correctly, literally years of tabletop gaming for a few bucks. It's usually less than $50. Almost always less than $50. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Used bookstores, super hit or miss. Now, when I lived out in Arizona, there was a place called Bookman's. I think they're still around. They had 2 locations. 2 or 3. I think they may have had 3. They may have had 2 in the Phoenix area and then 1 down in Tucson. They were like my go-to for music CDs and books. And every once in a while, I'd see a role-playing game release. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'll grab that. They had loads of games. They had loads and loads. And they would have board games, and they would have role-playing games. So that is an option if you have somebody like that. And they tend to be like family-owned. Half-price books, super hit or miss. And half-price books, if it's something that's older, that they think has some value to it, you're not going to get any deals there. I mean, I can't believe half-price books is fine. But I took my niece there a couple of years ago, and she was 16. She was really into it, and she wanted to pick up the book. And I could not believe they had a paperback copy of it, and it wasn't the first print run of it. And it looked like this thing had been through a war. It looked as beat up as possible while still containing all its pages. They wanted $9 for it. I was like, what? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I was someone who would go to used bookstores every Monday back when I lived in Chicago. Years back, I had Mondays off, and Monday I would go down into what we called Newtown that had quite a lot of used bookstores, and I would just go down there. $9, I could get hardcover books for $9. Kevin King says they've got some deals at McKay's bookstores, similar to Bookman's, but they're in North Carolina and Tennessee. Yeah, so look local, right? Find out if there are used bookstores in your area or places that are kind of like, what the hell are they? What is it called? Isn't it for your entertainment or whatever? For your entertainment, FYE? I don't even know if they're around anymore. But that is an option. Stores like that, once again, those would kind of fall into the category of if they think there's any value to it, you're not going to get a deal. And Darius Terminus says Goodwill's where they picked up a lot of old tabletop role-playing game novels. That I could see. Chris Leonard points out Barnes & Noble usually has board game clearance tables. Good point. Although Barnes & Noble can be kind of scarce. They just opened one up not far from my brother, and I was like, really? I was like, wow. I was almost tempted to go in there and take a look at their board game section. And then I thought, what am I, nuts? Why would I go in there to buy a board game? It's like, all right. So yeah, so used bookstores, halfway decent. I would say, that's about it. That most of the places that I talked about as far as getting board games equally viable for tabletop role-playing games. Used bookstores, that's different. That's where you would look for role-playing games. PDF, of course, as we mentioned already, keeping your eyes out for the various different bundles that pop out there. Chris Lundgren says swap meets. That kind of falls into the whole like flea markets, white elephant sale. Some people call them swap meets. Although the reality is, I don't think there's much swapping going on at swap meets except for swapping money for an item. Where it used to be just trades, it's barter. And Darius says garage sales, estate sales, liquidation sales, seasonal sales, used bookstores. Yep. Pretty much covered all of those. We did, seasonal sales. Yeah. Black Friday. All right. So there are a lot of ways for you to stay in the hobby, not shell out an arm and a leg. But what it really all boils down to is you can't only be Cult of the New where it's something that is just coming out. You can be Cult of the New to you, right? So if something's been around 10 years and you pick it up, you've never played it before. Hey, well, guess what? It's new to you. That's fantastic. But if you've got to get like the hotness that's on Board Game Geek, no, you're not going to save money. You'll save the 20% you might get from an online retailer, but that's it. So, all right. So pretty long show tonight. As far as tomorrow's topic, I don't know yet. I do not know. Thursday, though, we do know we are going to start diving on into creating our own old school styled fantasy role-playing game. It's going to be the first part. We're going to talk about attributes, and we're probably going to dip into action resolution. And I've got some ideas that I want to share with you. And, we're going to kick this stuff around and maybe do that for foreseeable future on Thursdays. Of course, I will not be doing a show on Thanksgiving, which is a week from Thursday. But when we wrap it up, we're going to look to actually share that for free. Give it away, right? Because the reality is we're going to be using a lot of ideas from other people's games. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All righty, that's it for this time out. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, bigger thank you, because not only were you keeping me company, you were keeping each other company as well. Glooming RX asks, what about Black Friday sales? Yeah, we talked about Black Friday. It was one of the first things we talked about because it's right around the corner. So Black Friday, never thought, no, joking. Anyway, I also know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,100 videos here on the YouTube channel. In fact, I just shared the 1,100th review from the Gaming Gang. Neon Loads of the Toxic Wasteland was the 1,100th review from the Gaming Gang. Yikes. Anyway, regardless, however you watch, thank you very kindly. It is always appreciated. Really, really is. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live, it'll also inform you when I share other videos, such as my upcoming review of the Tales of the Valiant Game Master's Guide, yes, that is arriving tomorrow. Because all throughout November, I've been sharing a new review each and every day. That is what I'm aiming to do. So that'll be tomorrow. Oh, and I should point out, Sammy shared her review of Pathfinder Lost Omens Divine Mysteries today. So that is up on the website. Yes. Anyway, be sure to ring that bell because you'll be notified when I share other videos, not only when the stream is popping up live. Yes. Of course, when you're out watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com, the newly redesigned thegaminggang.com for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and other things that you will not find here on YouTube. Once again, big thank you to our sponsors, Roll for Combat, and their Year of Titans Kickstarter, which is running through December 12th. If you have not checked it out, be sure to give that a peek. I'll be back tomorrow. So everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and as always, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.